Sometimes the most important journeys in life are not the ones we plan, but the ones that lead us back to where we truly belong. My journey to Africa began shortly after I returned from Ireland. My elective posting in orthopedic surgery had just ended, and I sat for the American Medical Board exams. A few days later, the phone rang. It was Professor Philip Weissman. I had passed. Not only that, he offered me a place in his residency program in Boston. When I shared the news with Rory, he was overjoyed. He even sent me a traveler's check worth £400 so I could fully enjoy the trip I had been planning. A trip to Ghana, the homeland of my mother. The night before my departure was long and restless. My parents and I stayed awake late into the night, discussing Ghana and the Ashanti traditions. My mother carefully explained the protocols I would need to follow when meeting the Ashanti king. She packed letters and gifts meant for her relatives, including a framed photograph she wanted delivered personally to the Ashanti Hene. For the fourth time that night, she opened my suitcase to check if everything was properly packed. My father watched the scene with quiet amusement. Finally, he sighed and said, "Woman, stop fussing and let us all get some sleep." Then he looked at me and added jokingly, "You really only need a toothbrush and a change of clothes." I smiled, but remained awake long after they had gone to bed. My thoughts drifted between excitement and nervous anticipation. This trip meant more than travel. For my mother's people, it was something historic. Early the next morning, my friend Bev drove me to Heathrow Airport. My parents followed in their own car. At the airport, my mother became emotional as the moment of departure approached. My father, as always, tried to hide his feelings behind quiet strength. Bev kissed me goodbye and promised she would deliver my minicar to my parents' home while I was away. Soon, the flight was announced. With one final wave to my family, I joined the line of passengers heading toward the departure lounge. Within 6 hours, the plane crossed the Atlantic. Soon we were descending toward Accra Airport. As the aircraft doors opened, warm African air greeted me. Then something unexpected happened. An airport official approached me and asked, "Are you Miss McGraw?" When I confirmed, she led me straight to the VIP lounge. Inside the lounge stood Professor Accra and his family. They recognized me instantly. The moment I entered the room, they rushed forward with warm embraces. But the real surprise awaited outside. As we stepped into the airport parking area, a group of Ashanti dancers suddenly erupted into singing and dancing. Their bright fabrics swirled in the sunlight. Drums thundered. They sang praises to my mother, Mona Abigail Akosua. The welcome was vibrant, emotional, and overwhelming. It was the kind of reception reserved for royalty. And in that moment, I realized how deeply my mother was loved by her people. We drove to Professor Accra's home in Accra. The house had once belonged to a colonial officer, but had been beautifully renovated. The gardens were lush, the rooms were airy, and inside the house, dozens of relatives had gathered. After I freshened up, I returned to the main hall where everyone was waiting. Professor Accra took my hand and brought me to the center of the room. He addressed the gathering first in English and then in Ashanti. He explained that my visit symbolized the return of a daughter of the clan. He compared the Ashanti clan to a giant alligator. When my mother left Ghana years ago, he said, it was as if the alligator had lost its tail. But my arrival meant that the family had become whole again. The elders nodded in agreement. Prayers were said, blessings were given, food was served, and throughout the evening dancers entertained the guests. The atmosphere was joyful, emotional, and unforgettable. The next day, we prepared to travel to Kumasi to visit the Ashanti Hene, the Ashanti king. The drive took us through the vibrant streets of Accra and into the countryside. Markets overflowed with fruit, vegetables, and colorful fabrics. Women balanced baskets gracefully on their heads. Music filled the air. The country felt alive with energy. Yet amid all this beauty, I experienced a strange feeling. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded almost entirely by black faces. My lighter skin made me stand out. In my mother's homeland, I felt like a stranger. Eventually, we reached the palace. Tall stone walls surrounded a large courtyard. Drums echoed in the distance. As we entered the inner court, singers and praise poets began chanting. Then the Ashanti Hene appeared. He was dressed in full royal regalia and accompanied by chiefs and attendants. The atmosphere was dramatic and ceremonial. My uncle bowed deeply before the king. Then he brought me forward. I felt nervous as I approached, but the moment the Ashanti Hene looked at me, his expression softened. He reached for my hand and said warmly, "Welcome, child." His kindness immediately calmed my nerves. He invited me to sit beside him. The king asked about my parents and their well-being. I conveyed their greetings and love. He nodded approvingly. Then prayers were offered for my presence among the Ashanti people. During my stay at the palace, I experienced many aspects of Ashanti culture. There were storytelling evenings in the courtyard, where elders shared stories with the children. There were grand meals filled with traditional dishes like yams, rice, plantains, and rich tomato sauces. There were dancers performing under the night sky, while drums echoed through the courtyard. One day, we visited the family cocoa and palm plantations. There, I saw how cocoa pods were opened and how palm fruits were processed. It was fascinating to witness the origins of products I had known my entire life, like chocolate. Later, we visited a mission hospital run by Irish nuns. We also met craftsmen who carved wood and bronze sculptures and artisans who wove beautiful kente cloth. Eglantine even ordered a custom kente outfit for me. She said that during the upcoming independence celebrations, everyone would wear traditional clothing, and she didn't want me to feel different. One evening, the Ashanti Hene invited me to his private study. There, away from the ceremony of the court, he spoke openly about my mother. He told me how beloved she had been. In those days, educated women were rare, yet my mother had become a nurse and helped countless people in the community. The king told me that when she left Ghana, the family felt her absence deeply. Then he said something that stayed with me forever. "Being African is not about the color of your skin," he said. "It is about your heart and your spirit." He welcomed me as a daughter of the Ashanti people and encouraged me to return whenever I could. During my second week in Ghana, the entire country prepared for Independence Day celebrations. Schools rehearsed for parades. Political songs filled the streets. Markets were crowded with people preparing for the festivities. On the day of the celebration, I wore the kente outfit that had been made for me. The vibrant colors and patterns represented centuries of Ashanti tradition. Later that evening, we attended an official state banquet attended by diplomats, political leaders, academics, and traditional rulers. It was a historic moment for the young nation of Ghana, and I felt honored to witness it. As my visit came to an end, the Ashanti Hene placed his hands gently on my head and gave me his blessing. It was a quiet moment, but deeply meaningful. When we left the palace and began the journey back to Accra, I looked back one final time. I had arrived in Ghana as a visitor, but I was leaving as something more. I had discovered a heritage, a history, and a family that had been waiting for me all along.